Are you tired of feeling paralyzed by anxiety and fear? As a doctor, I saw countless patients struggle with these overwhelming emotions, and today I'm sharing the breakthrough secrets that helped them to regain control of their lives. In this video, I am pulling back the curtain to reveal the science and the practical steps that you can take to stop anxiety in its tracks and unlock the fearless version of yourself that you have always wanted to be. Welcome to my channel. If you're new to me, I'm Dr. Kim Foster, and I'm an MD turned coach and wellness expert. If you are a returning viewer, then welcome back, and I am so glad that you're here for more tips on how to optimize your life. Now let's get started. So the first step is to actually identify what it is that you're feeling. Are you experiencing fear, anxiety, or worry? These three terms are often used interchangeably, but they refer to different psychological states. Here are the distinctions between them. Fear is an emotional response to a specific, immediate threat or danger. It's a reaction to something that is present and identifiable. When you encounter a growling dog, for example, or see a car speeding towards you as you're crossing the street, the body's fight or flight response is triggered, and that leads to symptoms like a racing heart, rapid breathing, and a surge of adrenaline. This physical reaction is typically short-term. It just lasts as long as the threat is present, and then it quickly dissipates once the danger has passed. Now, anxiety is a generalized feeling of apprehension or dread about potential future threats or dangers. It's more diffuse and not always tied to a specific threat. For example, feeling nervous about some upcoming exams or starting a new job, or feeling anxious in general about potential health issues. Similar to fear, anxiety can cause physical symptoms like increased heart rate, muscle tension, and sweating, but these symptoms are usually less intense than fear, but they can last a lot longer. They may even persist when there is no actual threat anywhere in sight. And when you get into a state of chronic anxiety, that is what can lead to anxiety disorders. Now, worry involves repetitive, typically negative thoughts about future events or uncertain things. Worry is a cognitive process rather than a strictly emotional state. So continuously thinking about whether you'll perform well in a meeting or if you have enough savings for retirement, these are worries. Worry can contribute to the development of anxiety, but it's a primarily mental activity. It can lead to physical symptoms over time if it becomes excessive and chronic, but for the most part, worry is all happening in your brain, in your thought processes. Now, in this video, I am going to tackle fear and anxiety, not so much worry, since this is a different kind of beast. If you want to learn more, though, about how to kick the habit and the thought process of worry, then let me know in the comments and I will make that video next. In the meantime, I invite you to download my free self-care checklist, because this is just a great place to start when you are just not sure what to do to begin to get out of the bad habit of worry and instead to practice really nourishing self-care. I will put the link to that checklist in the description box below. But let's look more at what's happening physically in your body when you are dealing with fear or anxiety. And this is what brings us to step 2, which is to understand the science. This is all about understanding where fear and anxiety comes from. And this is a case of know thine enemy, because understanding these pieces is what is going to help you to conquer your anxiety ultimately. So I remember the feeling of overwhelming anxiety leading up to my medical school practical exams. These were the exams when you had to perform on the spot, doing an examination of a patient or going through a simulated emergency. So stressful, so much pressure. I vividly remember sitting in the room where we were waiting to go into the exam. My heart was racing, my palms were sweaty, and I just felt like I couldn't even breathe. If you've ever felt this way, you're not alone. But what is this about? Well, our brains are wired to protect us from danger. The amygdala, which is often called the brain's fear center, plays a key role in processing emotions. When it perceives a threat, it triggers the fight or flight response, which prepares our body to either face the danger or run away from it. Now, in truth, there are actually a couple of other options here besides fight or flight, and newer research has actually expanded the fight or flight response to also include freeze, like a deer in headlights, and also floppy, which is kind of like a last resort of playing dead or just disassociation from the threat, kind of like playing possum. But for simplicity's sake, I am just going to say fight or flight in this video. So the fight or flight response is your sympathetic nervous system just kicking in to give you the resources you need to fight or run away or whatever you need to do to survive the immediate threat. So your heart is racing because it's ramping up so that you can physically run away or fight for your life, and it's sending lots of blood and oxygen to your muscles so that you can do what you need to do. It stops non-essential body functions like digestion because that is just not the number one priority right now, and it sends all the blood and energy to your heart, your muscles, and your brain also is going into pinpoint focus, just blocking out everything else except the threat. I remember learning about all of this in medical school and feeling a huge sense of relief. It made me realize that my reactions weren't a sign of weakness, but just a natural biological response. And to a certain degree, this helped me to manage my anxiety better because I knew what was happening inside my brain and my body. So anyway, this fight or flight response makes sense if you're living in a time when there are actual physical threats like wild animals hunting you down and things like that. It's less useful when you're going on stage or speaking up in a meeting or trying to get through a practical exam in medical school. There are a lot of potential triggers for your fear and anxiety: work stress, relationships, financial trouble, health concerns, and everyone has different things that trigger their fears and their anxieties. I remember a patient who used to feel intense fear before every work presentation, even though she was very well prepared. She would get so nervous that it would actually impact her performance. And this is a classic example of how fear and anxiety can hold us back, even when we are capable and ready. Hey, okay, so quick break from my usual content because I have something really exciting to share. I'm launching a brand new YouTube channel together with my husband, and this one is all about taking you behind the scenes of our life. From how I stay healthy, our daily routines, and keeping everything running smoothly-ish, even when things get hectic with our family of 4, including our 2 teenage boys. On my regular channel right here, I talk a lot about wellness and personal development, and I share my tips for helping you to live your best life. But on this new vlog channel, my husband and I are going to show you exactly how we try our best to fit it all in. You're gonna get a peek into our daily routines and how we try to balance everything, and also our travels overseas as we work towards creating our own dream life, including location independence and a completely bi-continental lifestyle, which is our ultimate goal. So if you are curious about any of that, then we would love to have you along on the journey. The first video drops very soon, and I cannot wait to share it all with you. Okay, so now that we understand the science underneath the physiology of fear and anxiety, let's talk about the secret to stopping them, which is step number 3. The big secret is that you're in control. It's true. And I know you might have a hard time believing me, because if there's ever a time when you don't feel in control, it's when you're in the grip of the fight or flight response. But the truth is, you do have the power to control this. And once you're able to make that switch in your mind, then things are going to change. There are some very specific proactive strategies that I'm going to share with you for exactly how to regain control, but you won't follow through with them unless you actually do believe that this is something that you can do. Recognize that you are not a passive victim of fear and anxiety. These emotions are natural responses, and you have the ability to manage and control them. But like I said, you have to be proactive, and you have to use some very specific techniques. Now, the techniques that you are going to use will depend on what you're tackling at any given moment. Is it fear or is it anxiety? Figure out which one you're dealing with and then use the right techniques for the situation. So we're going to talk about techniques for stopping anxiety in just a sec, but first I want to help you cultivate some strategies for coping with fear. And so this is step number 4, tackling fear. Okay, so I have a few strategies that you can use to tackle fear in the heat of the moment that will help to neutralize those feelings. And of course, I'm assuming that the fear that you are feeling is not from a legitimate threat. If your fear response flipped on because there is an actual car speeding your way or something else that you have to actually deal with right then that is not what you need these techniques for. This is when there isn't an actual physical threat, but your body is responding as though there is. So you have to give an important presentation at work, or you're about to go on stage, or you're in an important job interview, things like that. So the first thing is to practice grounding techniques. Grounding techniques are things that you do to bring yourself back to the present moment and reduce the intensity of fear. One of the best and easiest is deep breathing. This is a really good place to start. When you take slow, deep breaths, this will calm your nervous system. Deep breathing, especially with your diaphragm, stimulates the vagus nerve, which promotes the parasympathetic activity, the opposite of the sympathetic fight or flight response. And this helps to immediately lower your heart rate and your blood pressure and begins to trigger the relaxation response. The breathing exercise commonly used by Navy SEALs is known as box breathing or 4-square breathing. This technique helps to calm your mind and control stress, which enhances focus and performance under pressure. So here's how to do it. Breathe in slowly and deeply through your nose for a count of 4 seconds. Hold your breath for a count of 4 seconds, then exhale slowly and completely through your mouth for a count of 4 seconds, and then hold your breath again for a count of 4 seconds. So you can picture a box and you're just breathing around the 4 sides of the box. Another grounding technique is the 5 senses technique. With this, you are going to notice your immediate environment and identify one thing you can see, one thing you can hear, one thing you can touch, one thing you can smell, and one thing that you can taste. This will anchor you into your physical surroundings and get you out of that panic mode all stuck in your head that you're in. The third technique that I want to share with you for coping with an immediate feeling of fear, and this one is my favorite, is what I like to call the fear flip. So this is based on research that shows that when you reframe fear in your mind as excitement, because fear and excitement actually feel very similar in the body, then you can actually regain control of your fear and start to view those physical sensations as a positive. Bruce Springsteen has talked about this. He said that when he feels those butterflies of nerves before going on stage, that's when he knows he's ready. He says that the anxiety and the nerves mean that he's alive and engaged, and that's what drives him to give his best performance. And this is so brilliant and just so fascinating. What most of us would read as a red light, I'm feeling so nervous, my hands are shaking, my heart is pounding, I can't do this. He reads that as a green light. He says he's not ready to go on stage until he feels those feelings. I mean, how empowering is that? And you can do the exact same thing in your own life too. Just make the conscious choice to view those feelings as your system getting excited and ramping up to rise to the challenge. Okay, so now that you have a few tactics in your tool belt for dealing with that white hot in the moment fear, let's move on to step number 5, which is how to tackle anxiety. So one of the most powerful tools for reducing that low grade daily anxiety that can so easily take over our lives and steal our enjoyment of life is to cultivate a meditation practice. Now, I'm sure that you have heard this piece of advice before, but don't dismiss it. The science is super clear here. When I started learning about meditation when I was in my 20s, and in fact, one of the first things that I did was take a 10-week community meditation course that was held in the basement of a local church, and I absolutely loved it. But at that time, meditation was kind of out there. It was a bit woo-woo, and there really wasn't any evidence to back it up. Things have definitely changed, and now meditation has been extensively studied for its ability to reduce chronic anxiety, and the scientific evidence supporting its effectiveness is robust. Multiple studies have shown that meditation, particularly mindfulness meditation, can significantly reduce symptoms of anxiety. A meta-analysis of 47 clinical trials involving more than 3,500 participants found that mindfulness meditation programs significantly reduce anxiety, depression, and pain. Meditation helps by training the brain to focus on the present moment, which alters the brain's response to stress, and that leads to lower levels of anxiety. Neuroimaging studies have demonstrated that regular meditation can lead to actual structural and functional changes in the brain. Things like increased gray matter density in areas associated with self-awareness and compassion and introspection, and decreased activity in the amygdala, which is involved in the stress response, something that we talked about earlier in this video. Meditation has also been found to lower your levels of cortisol, which is the body's primary stress hormone. So I'm hoping that I'm making the case for meditation if you've been on the fence about it. The key thing is that it does not have to be complicated. Meditation is totally free and completely without side effects, and you don't need any special equipment, and you can keep it really simple. Just set a timer on your phone for 10 or 15 minutes, get comfortable, close your eyes, and focus on your breath. Of course, there are a lot of other ways to do meditation, and you might prefer trying one of the many apps out there that offer guided meditation. But remember, it's a practice. It's not about being good at it. It's kind of a muscle. With regular practice, you'll get better and we'll start to see the benefits. Okay, the next strategy that will help you with anxiety, and one that has helped me big time, is journaling. So my journal is like my best friend. It has helped me get through a lot of tough times. There is something incredibly therapeutic about privately writing down all the things that are just swirling around my head and then seeing them on paper, working out my thoughts and feelings, and gaining new clarity on what's going on. And the research clearly supports journaling as an effective tool for reducing anxiety. Studies show that journaling can significantly reduce anxiety and depressive symptoms by helping people to process emotions and clarify their thoughts and reduce their negative feelings. Journaling also improves emotional regulation because it enables us to identify and express our emotions, and it has been found to reduce cortisol levels too. And again, this does not have to be complicated and doesn't cost anything other than the cost of a journal and some pens. Okay, the third anxiety reducing strategy that I really encourage you to consider is exercise. That's right, getting moving. If you feel resistance at the idea of exercise, just hear me out, because the science has demonstrated that exercise is super powerful at reducing anxiety. Regular physical activity has been shown through multiple studies to significantly decrease anxiety symptoms, and that is across various different populations. It promotes the release of endorphins, which are natural mood lifters, and it also reduces levels of cortisol. So it's not just a good thing to do, exercise actually brings about a real biochemical response that reduces your anxiety. As a bonus, exercise improves sleep quality, which is often disrupted in people with anxiety. And physical activity provides a healthy distraction, which can break the cycle of negative thoughts that are contributing to anxiety. There isn't a right way to get more activity in your day either. It can be whatever you like. The simplest way is just going for a walk outside. But if you do prefer something more structured, like playing tennis or playing hockey like my husband, or maybe you enjoy fitness classes at the local gym, which also gives you the added benefit of some social interaction, whatever it is, just get yourself moving on a regular basis and you will soon see your anxiety level is starting to come down. And that is going to help you want to make it a regular part of your routine. Okay, so remember the secret. You have the power to manage your anxiety and fear. With the right tools and mindset, you can overcome your fears and live a more content and fulfilling life. It's a journey, and every step is going to bring you closer to a calmer, more empowered you. And don't forget to download my free self-care checklist, which is just another way to move closer to that empowered, more content state of optimal living. The link is in the description below. I would love to hear from you. What are your strategies for managing anxiety and fear? Add them to the comments below, because your ideas could help other people on their journey, and that way we're all helping each other. And if you found this video helpful and you're looking for more ways to reduce anxiety, check out the video that I'm going to link on the next screen, where I share the 5 different supplements that can help you with your anxiety and stress. I will see you there. Or starting a new job or feeling anxious about potential health issues. Does that make sense? Kind of low battery, so I need to speed up and not make mistakes. 6%. Shoot, we're at 1%. Probably gonna die. Made it. Oh, yes. I did not think the battery was gonna last.